Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moments. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Absolute Resonance Part 1 based on novel. So let's start. Many mighty and influential factions were hidden within the Xia Kingdom, of which 2 were behemoths that held stances of absolute neutrality. These were titans that even officials and the royal family would never dare to aggravate. The first was the renowned Astral Sage College. The second, the Golden Dragon Bank. Attending the Astral Sage College was the aspiration of numerous Xia Kingdom youths. The elites that graduated from there were often courted by the numerous powers of the land. The Golden Dragon Bank, on the other hand, was involved in the trading, safekeeping, and auctioning of all sorts of goods and treasures. Their financial might was so immense that any power would stare at their wealth with reddened eyes. Yet no one dared to even dream of infringing on their interests. The true might of the Golden Dragon Bank far superseded any power in the Xia Kingdom. The branch that existed in the Xia Kingdom was just that, a mere branch. The main branch of the Golden Dragon Bank was located in a place far more vast than the Xia Kingdom, and they had a resounding reputation across the land. This was because the Golden Dragon notes issued by the bank could be redeemed for an equivalent amount of sky gold at any branch. The city of Southwind was the county town of the Tianshu province. It naturally housed its own branch of the Golden Dragon Bank, which was unsurprisingly located in the most luxurious area, the center of the city. As Li Luo got off the carriage, he gazed at the glorious and dazzling building before him. This was not the first time he had laid eyes on a building so grand, yet he couldn't help but exhale in wonder. Even a branch building in a simple county town exhibited grandeur beyond its humble surroundings. The financial resources of the Golden Dragon Bank were truly unfathomable. Even House Loulan's estate seemed lacking when compared to this behemoth. Jiang Qing'e's expression was calm and unperturbed. Upon exiting the carriage, she immediately made his way towards the bank with Li Luo in tow. After entering this magnificent bank, Jiang Qing'e withdrew a golden note from her belongings, which she then passed to an attendant. The note was carefully inspected before the attendant hastily and respectfully ushered the 2 into a VIP room. Moments later, a beaming, plump, middle-aged man waddled in. He was bedecked with all sorts of glittering jewels, each and every one of his fingers clad with numerous rings. Ha ha! I am honored to be in the presence of House Loulan's young lord and Miss Jiang. You have truly brought great honor to my humble dwelling. It is important to keep in mind that anyone who could act on behalf of the Golden Dragon Bank would definitely be socially adept. Since the plump man could recognize Li Luo at a glance, he also understood his current status. Yet he did not slight Li Luo in the least, and he provided him all due respect, even addressing him first. This is the supervisor of the Tianshu province's Golden Dragon Bank, President Lu. Jiang Qing'e casually introduced the other party to Li Luo. President Lu, do lead us to retrieve the goods. With the brief introductions complete, Jiang Qing'e reverted to her usual swift and decisive demeanor. President Lu nodded and smiled, turning to lead the way. The 3 of them weaved through layers upon layers of restrictions before making their way deep under the building. Following President Lu's lead, the 3 arrived in front of a completely sealed room with no entrances. Instead, there were smooth, glossy, black stone walls on all sides, making it seem like a room surrounded by black mirrors. President Lu then lightly patted the wall. His actions made the wall split apart, allowing the group to enter the room. A box made of an unknown metal gradually emerged from the ground within the room. President Lu smiled as he explained, "My respected guests, this is the object that the Lord of House Loulan left behind. In his words, the young lord has to retrieve this personally, and his blood will act as the key." With his job complete, he naturally slunk away, leaving the other 2 in the room. Li Luo stared at this safety deposit box of sorts, almost in a trance. Just what were his parents up to, leaving him with all this secrecy and mystery? What had they left behind? Yet his intuition was screaming at him, telling him that the object in front of him was of utmost importance. Perhaps it could change his ill fate? He took a deep breath and stepped forward, placing his palm on the strong box. At this moment, he felt a piercing pain in his finger, as if a drop of blood was forcefully seized from him and absorbed by this strong box. Click! Mechanical clicks could be heard coming from within the strongbox. A faint luster gradually emerged from the center as the strongbox cracked apart. At this point, Li Luo could finally see what was within. It was a pitch-black crystal ball. It was extremely smooth, so much so that Li Luo could even see his own reflection. There were clearly some unspoken mysteries surrounding this object. Just what? Li Luo mumbled as he blinked while inspecting the crystal ball. Let's store it carefully for now. Master said that you had to wait for your 17th birthday before you could retrieve this. Jiang Qing'e passed a suitcase over. Li Luo nodded as he carefully placed the black crystal ball inside the suitcase, tightly holding onto it for dear life as his eyes moistened. What's wrong? Jiang Qing'e asked with a puzzled expression. I have a hunch that my lucky break is finally here. I'm so emotional, I could cry. Li Luo exclaimed as he waved the suitcase towards her. Just you wait. I'm definitely going to succeed in annulling this marriage. Jiang Qing'e couldn't be bothered to respond. She immediately turned around and left the secret room. She could clearly tell that Li Luo was surging with excitement and was definitely itching to irritate her. The two left the depths of the building and were once again greeted by President Lu. This time, he was accompanied by a young lady. She was garbed in green and was exceptionally beautiful, with an elegant and exquisite charm to her. Her fine, black hair cascaded down her back like a waterfall, reaching her willowy waist. This was coupled with a set of captivating eyes that shone brightly. Her snow-white skin gave off a crystal-like sheen. She was eye-catching, the very embodiment of perfection. Even though her hands were clad in thin, silk gloves, one could faintly make out her slender, jade-like fingers. If she ever removed those gloves, there would be people drooling at the sight of her ephemeral beauty. Possessing both beauty and temperament, this young lady was clearly a level above Differ Qing. Upon seeing her, an unnatural expression flashed across Li Luo's face before he regained his composure. Ha ha, this is my little niece, Lu Qing'e. She has just been accepted into South Wind Academy as a cultivator, and she absolutely idolizes Miss Jiang. When she heard you were here, she was adamant in coming along. I do hope that Miss Jiang will not take offense to this, President Lu explained as he clasped his hands respectfully with a smile on his face. Greetings, Senior Sister Jiang, Lu Qing'e said with deference as she graciously curtsied. Jiang Qing'e began to size up this new arrival with perfectly symmetrical features. Since you're a student of South Wind Academy, I suppose you're acquaintances with Li Luo. Lu Qing'e shifted her gaze momentarily to glance at Li Luo, who was standing by Jiang Qing'e's side. She beamed as she gently nodded, her deep gaze captivating all. Li Luo used to provide me with some pointers, and I've always been thankful to him. However, it seems like in these past 2 years, he hasn't wanted to meet me. Li Luo let out an awkward smile as he hastily and laughingly replied, No, please don't jump to conclusions. We are in different schools, so it's been very difficult to come see you. Deep down, Li Luo felt helpless. Lu Qing'e was exceptionally famous in South Wind Academy. She was in a completely different strata compared to Differ Qing. Not only was she attractive, she was the poster girl for South Wind Academy, being the #1 talent in the current generation. When Li Luo was still attending the first school, many of the students had yet to open their resonant palaces. With his exceptional ability to utilize resonance arts, he was a cut above the rest of the students. Hence, numerous students would approach him for guidance, including Lu Qing'e. Therefore, they could be considered close friends. Then came Li Luo's misfortune of blank palaces and his subsequent booting from the first school into the second school. As a result, their interactions became sparse. Of course, the most important point here was that Li Luo spent his time hiding from Lu Qing'e. It wasn't because he hated her, but because he felt embarrassed whenever they met. He used to be #1 in the first school, and yet he had been supplanted by her. Who would have thought that they would meet each other again? Lu Qing'e did not rebut Li Luo's clearly perfunctory words but didn't say anything else either. Instead, she turned her attention to Jiang Qing'e and began to chat with her with a casual smile on her face. The Lu duo then proceeded to escort the two out of the bank. Miss Jiang, I've heard that there will be an event happening at House Loulan, President Lu said with his usual, smiley demeanor. Jiang Qing'e's expression was unchanging as she replied flatly, President Lu is perceptive indeed. Ah, such a pity. President Lu sighed before continuing, do look for me if there is anything I can assist you with. The Golden Dragon Bank believes that harmony breeds wealth. Li Luo held some doubts in his mind, but he did not voice them. He simply followed Jiang Qing'e onto the carriage, and they swiftly left. Meanwhile, President Lu rubbed the chin of his oily, portly face as he glimpsed at Lu Qing'e, only to realize that she was still staring wistfully at the direction of the departing carriage with her sparkling eyes. Cough. President Lu interrupted her. You little girl. You wouldn't happen to have feelings for Li Luo, would you? Lu Qing'e batted a glance towards President Lu as she gently replied, I only feel pity towards Li Luo. In the past, he did guide me in the resonance arts. I merely feel appreciation towards him. If not for his blank palaces, he would have been my greatest rival in Southwind Academy. President Lu patted his chest as he released a sigh of relief. Thank goodness. That's great. Qing'e, oh, Qing'e, he is already an engaged man. Don't try scoring when there's a goalkeeper. With your status and looks, just which youth in the Xia Kingdom could be your match? Lu Qing'e shook her head and then turned around to walk away, ignoring her second uncle's inane ramblings whilst he chuckled and continued to rub his chin. After leaving the Golden Dragon Bank, Jiang Qing'e was silent within the carriage. Li Luo followed suit and spoke nary a word, only clutching the suitcase. Who knew what he was thinking? Eventually, they arrived in front of a manor within which dotted numerous undulating hills and magnificent pavilions, an awe-inspiring sight. This was where Li Luo's parents had constructed the family home of House Loulan. The 4 bestial lion horses stopped gracefully in front of the gates and then the duo exited the carriage. This place seems to have become a lot colder and lifeless. Jiang Qing'e sighed as she stared at the manor. Back when Li Luo's parents were still around, this was the administrative epicenter of House Loulan. The bustling activity as people hurried about then greatly contrasted against the decrepit silent scene now. House Loulan's headquarters has long shifted to Xia City, this is just an old manor. I suppose this peace and quiet is expected. Li Luo smiled. Whilst the two spoke, some individuals approached the entrance to usher them in. At the fore was an old man, with a lady right behind him. The old man had a gentle and amiable expression. The lady, on the other hand, wore a face of makeup that accentuated her maturity, providing an attractive countenance. What was most outstanding was her well-rounded figure. Her twin peaks were well endowed, much like 2 completely ripe peaches, a sight that would slay men as they swayed gently. Uncle Liu, Li Luo cried as he ran towards the old man. He was someone who had followed Li Luo's parents long ago. Nowadays, he stayed to maintain the estate whilst taking care of Li Luo. Yet Li Luo did not recognize this well-endowed lady and doubts began to arise in his mind. Uncle Liu, it has been a long time, Jiang Qing'e said as she nodded her head before introducing the lady to Li Luo. This is elder sister Cai Wei, my assistant in Xia City. She has been helping me to arrange the numerous affairs of House Loulan. Greetings, young lord, the mature beauty Cai Wei said with a smiling expression as her eyes sized Li Luo up. Li Luo nodded in reply. It must have been hard on you, elder sister Cai Wei. Elder sister Cai Wei will be staying in the city of Southwind for a period of time. She will be taking care of House Loulan's affairs in the Qianshu province and will be directly reporting to you in all matters, Jiang Qing'e explained. Li Luo was momentarily shocked. Ever since House Loulan's headquarters relocated to Xia City, nothing much had cropped up within the Qianshu province and things had been stable since then. Now, in the blink of an eye, why had Sister Qing'e suddenly deployed such a capable individual to assume control of the situation? Has something happened? Li Luo queried as he sighed deeply. Jiang Qing'e's sudden return was clearly unrelated to his upcoming 17th birthday tomorrow. Jiang Qing'e paused in deep thought. Her usual, exquisite expression had turned cold as she strode towards the interior of the manor, Li Luo trailing right behind her. Although you've been left in the city of Southwind, I suppose you have not heard of the news surrounding House Loulan. I did not speak of these things for fear of affecting you. As they walked on the light gravel road, scattered light filtered through the leaves of the surrounding trees, bathing their path with warmth, contrasting against Jiang Qing'e's direct and cold words. Li Luo nodded. Although he did not take part in House Loulan's affairs, even a blockhead could guess that with the absence of his parents, House Loulan would be faced with turbulent winds. Starting a house within the Xia Kingdom was not such a simple task. The most important rule was that one had to have a duke. Within the Xia Kingdom were 5 great houses, and House Loulan was one of them. Out of these 5, House Loulan had the shortest history and had also risen the most abruptly. This was due to both of Li Luo's parents entering the duke stage. Mysterious young duke, Li Taixien. Misty duke, Tan Tailan. A house with 2 dukes. This was the key reason why House Loulan had catapulted into the ranks of the 5 great houses so quickly. Whilst the rest of the 5 great houses had long established histories, House Loulan was a complete upstart. As a result, this also meant that they had less of a foundation and barely any assets to speak of, and were thus weaker than the other 4 by a fair margin. This was originally not an issue, as Li Taixien and Tan Tailan's abilities were more than sufficient to cover this gap during this time. Hence, it was a pity that they both had disappeared. Losing their 2 main pillars of support, House Loulan's strength declined rapidly. At the onset of their disappearance, their reputation still served to deter any unsavory intentions. However, with the passage of time, the lack of news regarding Li Taixien and Tan Tailan had ended up birthing rumors that they had met their demise in the Nobles' War. House Loulan, as one of the 5 great houses, had numerous businesses under them. This was undoubtedly a fat, succulent piece of meat for any power within the Xia Kingdom. Numerous factions had been eyeing it covetously, drooling at the mouths for a potential bite. Thus, with the passage of time, Li Taixien and Tan Tailan's inheritance had been gradually whittled down. A few wolves could barely resist the temptation in these past few years and had taken quite a few mouthfuls. With such a situation afoot, Jiang Qing'e had to put pause to her studies in the Astral Sage College to take over the affairs of House Loulan. As a result, her reputation in the Xia Kingdom had soared. Unfortunately, she had yet to enter the Duke stage, so her strength was insufficient to deter this pack of hungry wolves. In this dire situation, she had chosen to give up some of the businesses, opting to recover them when the house had recouped its strength. By showing little resistance, it signaled to the wider world that the situation within House Loulan was terribly unstable, battered by the oncoming winds. Li Luo understood very clearly at this point that without sufficient strength, trying to guard a mountain of gold would only bring trouble to oneself. Patiently enduring was the sensible long-term strategy. I've heard of House Loulan's decline in these few years. Perhaps things have begun to stabilize? Li Luo asked curiously. Jiang Qing'e pursed her lips as she calmly replied, external pressure has temporarily reduced. However, the problem now lies within House Loulan's headquarters. Li Luo was dumbfounded for a second before he slowly asked, is it due to Senior Pei Hao? Cai Wei stared at Li Luo with a flabbergasted expression. Although Sister Qing'e has not been in charge of House Loulan for long, your charm is unparalleled and your strength within the house is not insignificant. The only member of House Loulan who can compete with you is that senior disciple my parents took in. Li Luo smiled as he explained his deduction. Pei Hao was a wandering vagrant in his youth. He had offended an enemy and would have been executed if not for the lucky intervention of Li Luo's parents. Seeing how pitiful he was, they accepted him into House Loulan and his talents were gradually unearthed, demonstrating his genius. When House Loulan officially made their mark, he was officially taken in as a disciple. With this background, Pei Hao's position in House Loulan soared into the heavens, and by the time of Li Luo's parents' disappearance, he had already accumulated quite a bit of power. When his parents were still around, Senior Pei Hao would often come to interact with Li Luo. Over the years, these interactions had gradually become more rare, especially after it was discovered that Li Luo had blank palaces. It was clear that Senior Pei Hao wasn't a very genuine person. Pei Hao has always objected to my control of House Loulan. He has also acted arbitrarily when it came to decisions regarding the house. His influence within House Loulan is not minor, at least half of the inner council of 9 supports him. This has brought about some unsavory influences on the situation. Frankly speaking, if he was willing to act on behalf of House Loulan, then all of this would be tolerable. If not for Master's orders, I would not have wanted to make a move and take control. Li Luo nodded in agreement. With Jiang Qing'e's personality, she definitely disliked this sort of responsibility. Focusing on cultivation would have been ideal, considering her gratuitous talents. Though in the end, all of these problems had arisen because the young lord just wasn't up to par. Both of them understood that with his current predicament of possessing blank palaces, he was helpless in such a situation. If they passed control to him, it would more or less spell doom for everything his parents had toiled for. Furthermore, in this world, might made right. It must have been hard on you, Sister Qing'e, Li Luo sincerely said from the depths of his heart. Jiang Qing'e shook her head. No need for this display. We are already engaged, and I'm also part of House Loulan, in case you already forgot and need a beating to remind yourself, she replied bluntly. Li Luo was speechless at this retort, whilst Cai Wei laughed while coyly covering her mouth, her appearance capable of moving anyone. Jiang Qing'e continued, ever since the 2 masters disappeared, everyone has been on tenterhooks. Although I have done my best to pacify everyone, the situation House Loulan is in is not something that can be resolved easily. Meanwhile, Pei Hao continues to goad and rally the support of the people, constantly seeking to suppress me. I've done some investigating, and I suspect that there are greater forces at play, secretly assisting him. Li Luo reached out to catch a falling leaf before musing, we seem to have raised a wolf in our home. Pei Hao will bring some men to discuss terms in the city of Southwind tomorrow. If we are unable to come to a consensus, the worst-case scenario is that House Loulan will directly disintegrate and a heavy blow will be dealt to us. Jiang Qing'e's golden pupil seemed to become as icy as the cold of winter, even a trace of killing intent could be seen. Li Luo raised his eyebrows in puzzlement. House Loulan was surrounded by wolves in the Xia Kingdom, and furthermore, there were even more tigers eyeing them from the sidelines. If they did fall apart, House Loulan would be severely weakened, and inevitable troubles would follow. All he could do now was sigh. He was just too weak, unable to influence the situation at all. The title of young lord within House Loulan was an empty one. In fact, people had completely disregarded and forgotten about him. Everything stemmed from being powerless. I apologize. I have been unable to help, Li Luo said. Jiang Qing'e shook her head as she lightly replied, rest assured. Even if turmoil engulfs House Loulan, I will ensure it is rebuilt before I hand it back over to you. Li Luo did not reply. He didn't really mind either way. Even if House Loulan were the mightiest one around, it was ultimately external strength. In this world, only personal might was absolute. If he could enter the king or duke stages at some point, all of these problems would disappear like a wisp of smoke. The two then entered their old home and had dinner. Immediately after, Jiang Qing'e excused herself and rushed off, evidently to make preparations for tomorrow. Li Luo did not disturb her. Instead, he spent 2 hours practicing the resonance arts before retiring to his room for rest. Try as he might, he couldn't fall asleep. When the clock struck midnight, he directly rolled off his bed and grabbed the suitcase before wrenching it open. He pulled out the mysterious, black crystal ball and carefully clasped it between his hands. Li Luo could feel his heart palpitating as it almost burst out of his chest in excitement. Father. Mother. Just what did you leave behind for me? Li Luo lightly patted his chest as he spoke self-deprecatingly, there's no way you left behind a birthday cake you made countless years ago, right? He gulped. The black crystal ball with a mirror-like sheen allowed Li Luo to see his countenance within. A trace of anticipation, lashed with anxiety, was hung upon his gaze. He wanted to know just what sort of item would lead his parents to spend so much effort to squirrel away. So, just how do I open this? Li Luo was doing everything he could to quash the feelings of anxiousness in his heart. Cautiously inspecting the ink-black and mysterious crystal ball, he finally decided to use the most direct method instead. He tentatively pressed his palms against its surface. 1, At the exact moment his palms contacted the crystal ball emitted a slight shock. That originally shiny exterior liquefied and enveloped Li Luo's palms. At the same time, Li Luo could distinctly feel a sensation not unlike acupuncture, as though needles were piercing right into his palms. As this happened, some of his blood was absorbed. The palms, which were covered with the black liquid, then began to radiate a bright light. Then, to Li Luo's surprise, two light apparitions gradually took form. Looking at the familiar silhouettes, Li Luo could feel a wave of nostalgia and yearning descend upon him. "Dad, Mom," the male apparition was handsome, his body upright like a spear whilst clothed in white robes. He possessed an absolute charm and a warm smile, yet hidden within was a lofty and immovable presence that would bend to no one. Just looking at him brought others an indescribable sense of comfort and safety. On the other hand, the female apparition was garbed in violet, her long hair elegantly pinned up, her two hands leisurely placed within her pockets. She, too, was of incomparable beauty and held an unparalleled, dignified demeanor. These were Li Luo's parents, Li Taixian and Tan Tailan. As Li Luo stared blankly at the two, the apparition of Li Taixian began to speak. "Ha ha, my little boy, now that you're seeing these imprints, I assume you are 17 already. I believe that by this point, we are long gone." Tan Tailan, who was smiling happily at the side, also began to speak. "Little Luo must have become even more handsome by now, right? Have any girls begun to court you in school?" Li Luo rubbed his eyes as he mumbled to himself, "Your son did not only become extremely handsome, he also became absolutely unmatched. Just who would dare to court me? Are you feeling full of grievances right now? Do you feel that nothing has gone right for you?" At this point, Li Taixian began to chuckle again, as though he could see right through the frustrations in Li Luo's heart. His mom continued, "Perhaps because of the blank palaces within you." At this point, Li Luo was shocked. By the time his blank palaces had manifested, his parents had been missing for years. Just how could they have known of his situation? "Little Luo, don't be surprised. We used some special methods to observe your body's situation long before your resonant palaces manifested. In fact, you even have 3 resonant palaces." Tan Tailan soothed him with a doting gaze in her eyes. Li Luo's jaw dropped. So it seems as though his parents knew of his unique situation a long time ago. Then in this case, did his parents' disappearance have to do with this? Just where were they now? Were they still doing well? Why had there been no news since then? "Little Luo, I would first like to tell you that just because you were born with blank palaces, it does not mean that you're crippled. In fact, based on what I feel, this is the strongest sort of constitution in this world. You don't have to feel dispirited at this, and instead rejoice." Li Taishuan's words were too earth-shattering, leaving Li Luo speechless. "Dad, even if you want to console me, couldn't you do it in a less exaggerated way?" Li Luo lamented. The blank palaces had already hampered his ability to cultivate. Just what nonsense was he spouting about some mightiest constitution? "Dad, just who are you trying to scam?" Li Taixian had a wry smile as he explained, "Your natural blank palaces cannot absorb or refine worldly natural energy. This has to do with the root of your power, and frankly, we have no solution for this. Since it's a blank palace, then just find some way to stuff something in," added his mom, with a beaming smile. Li Luo was now wrinkling his brows in consternation. This was easy to say but impossible to do. Resonances were determined from birth. Wanting to change this after being born was unheard of. He had even experimented with this idea, but to no success. In a normal situation, this would truly be undoable. However, ever since we discovered your situation, we have been working hard to find a solution. If you do your best, you're bound to succeed eventually. Indeed, the heavens did not disappoint us and we finally found it. At this point, Li Luo could distinctly hear the thunderous palpitations of the heart, and even his head felt dizzy as blood rushed to his brain in excitement. We poured through numerous ancient records and finally found a solution. This art is known as the acquired resonance godly forging art. It allows one to forge acquired resonances. At the same time, it allows one to integrate their blood essence and soul, along with a chosen resonance, into the forging process. The resulting acquired resonance can then be absorbed into your blank palace. Little Luo, your naturally endowed blank palaces may not necessarily be a bad thing. As natural resonances are too powerful and hard to control, we cannot pass the full art down to you. Instead, the acquired resonance godly forging art is a much better fit for you, allowing you to forge your path as you see fit. If you want an elemental resonance, then you can work in that direction. Conversely, if you want a beast resonance, then go ahead and do just that. In future, your 3 blank palaces will contain 3 carefully constructed resonances. At that point, you will be greatly superior to those with a natural resonance. Li Luo's eyes shone bright like a diamond under light. The situation seemed salvageable. There were all sorts of resonances, and many people had no choice over the manifestation of their resonances. This was something that could not be changed. On the other hand, although he did not have any natural resonances, he had the benefit of flexibility and could essentially determine what sort of resonance he wanted. Little Luo, the acquired resonances produced by the acquired resonance godly forging art also have another benefit, Tan Tai Lan added. Although these were just apparitions that were left behind, Li Luo snapped right to attention. Since they had said it was a good thing, then how could he dare to miss this? A standard natural resonance is usually only of one element. However, the forged acquired resonances from this art are not the same. They can have 2 attributes, one main and one supporting. These attributes can be fully customizable as you see fit. The power gained is as though giving a tiger wings. I've only ever heard of certain natural treasures that have allowed for one's natural resonance to gain a second minor attribute when taken. However, this effect is minuscule and is just a small additive layer of strength. This is completely different from your acquired resonances, which are forged with 2 attributes that are supplementary. The difference is worlds apart. Oh my gosh, this is just too awesome. Too great. Li Luo was jubilantly celebrating as he clapped and jumped for joy. He could easily understand the preciousness of this ability. If he chose to forge a fire resonance and then supplemented it with a thunder resonance, the combination of fire and thunder would bring about a multiplicative increase in strength. At this point, he couldn't help but become emotional. It looked as though his blank palaces were truly more impressive than those natural resonances. Cough. Of course, nothing is ever so perfect. Although your acquired resonances have numerous benefits compared to natural resonances, there is one glaring disadvantage: the forged acquired resonances will not exceed the 4th grade, Li Taixien clarified with a sigh. Li Luo was momentarily stunned by this revelation. A 4th grade? This did seem slightly inferior. Compared to Jiang Qing'e's 9th grade light resonance, there was a difference of more than half the scale. With such a stark difference in grade, it was very possible that the benefits brought about by the dual elemental resonance would not be able to bridge this gap. However, his hesitation was short-lived. His current situation was already as bad as it could get, so even a 4th grade resonance would be considered decent. Li Luo's mom spoke dotingly as she reminded him, of course, you don't need to worry. Even though your acquired resonance grade might be low, you can also utilize acquired resonance arts to eventually improve them. Li Luo was once again struck with yet another revelation. That was true indeed. This world contained many wondrous treasures and medicines that allowed one to increase the grade of their resonance. There was a particular profession known as resonance artificer. These people were able to refine and temper spiritual liquids and mysterious treasures that would improve one's resonance, and as a result, they were widely welcomed by all resonance cultivators. There were, however, certain constraints to using external means to improve one's resonance grade. There was usually a limit to the tempering process and, normally speaking, an improvement of a grade or 2 was the best possible result. In the case of acquired resonances, as the highest grade was 4th grade, refinement would lead to a possible peak of 5th or 6th grade. Is little Luo worried about the physical limitations of refining one's resonances? Li Taixien laughed as though he was reading Li Luo like an open book. Huh? Seeing his dad's wide smile, Li Luo's eyes widened and he couldn't control himself. Could it be possible that this wasn't the end? This weakness could still be made whole? As Li Luo greedily anticipated the next round of news, his mother let out a slight sigh and interrupted his father with a disgruntled expression. "You idiot, you've just gone ahead and came clean with everything. Just what can I tell little Luo now?" "Huh?" Li Taishuan's expression changed as he hastily consoled her. "My dear, I was in the wrong. Please explain the rest to our son and I won't do it again. Please forgive me." Upon seeing this familiar sight, Li Luo couldn't help but shake his head with a sigh. His dad's survival instincts were truly commendable. Was this something that had been beaten and ingrained into him? "Brat, are you laughing at your father right now?" That apparition seemed to know exactly how Li Luo would react. Snorting with dissatisfaction, he immediately began to speak in a serious tone. "You are still young and have yet to understand. I am definitely not afraid of your mother. It's just that my love for her runs too deep. As I've often lectured you, loving your significant other is the most important rule of this family. When you eventually get together with Qing'e, you will also have to obey this law. Do you understand?" When Li Luo heard those words, he couldn't help but let out a cold laugh. Whenever his father said those words, if not for the fact that this explanation was often accompanied by a sight of a reddened palm mark on his face, he would have almost believed in them. Yet when he mentioned Qing'e, Li Luo could only sigh. Qing'e had been intimately raised by his mom and hence their personalities were similar. And he was often on the receiving end of a beating without him having a clue why. How would his life be in the future? With a heavy heart full of sadness, Li Luo raised his head and looked at his dad. At this moment, it seemed as though their gazes could transcend time. It was as though he could finally understand what his dad was thinking. For a brief moment, this father and son pair could feel a truly fateful connection with their hearts, one of intimate sorrow. "Li Tai Xian, can you stop standing there and making a fool of yourself? You're wasting my time." Li Luo's mom enunciated with a single raised eyebrow, interrupting that brief moment of endearment between the pair. Without surprise, Li Taishuan nodded eagerly, demonstrating that he had heard those words clearly. At the same time, Tan Tailan turned to look at Li Luo, her tone turning gentle. "The refinement limit is only applicable to natural resonances. This is because these external treasures, no matter how pure and pristine they look, inevitably contain some impurities at their core. It is the accumulation of these impurities that prevent a palace from completely sealing in the resonance's might. As a result, it makes it difficult to continue refining the resonance past 1 or 2 grades. However, little Luo, your blank palaces don't have this limit. Natural resonances have specific affinities and thus external tempering materials will face some form of rejection from the resonant palaces. Your blank palaces have no affinities, meaning that they can accept anything. Thus, your resonances can continually be refined as they will not be rejected by your palaces. Although it will get increasingly difficult to refine your acquired resonances, there is a chance for you to perfect them. Hence, it's as I've said. Your blank palaces could very possibly be the world's mightiest constitution ever. The perceived disadvantages are just a key to greater success." Li Luo could feel his heart roiling in waves. He had suffered greatly due to his blank palaces in these past few years. When he had first manifested it, he was unwilling to believe it and even felt angry. His frustrations and furious cultivation still resulted in him remaining powerless. In the end, he could only accept reality as it was. However, now, with his parents' words, these blank palaces were not useless. In fact, he might have the world's best constitution. This new information brought tears to Li Luo's eyes. "Little Luo, for your first acquired resonance, we have already extracted some of your blood essence and a strand of your spirit soul and refined something for you. It is within this crystal ball. The acquired resonance godly forging art is also within," Tan Tailan explained. Li Luo could feel a warm current surging through him as he immediately opened his clenched fists. "Dad, Mom, thank you. Let's go, I'm ready. Transmit this acquired resonance and the acquired resonance godly forging art to me. Let me finally gain the opportunity to be reborn and soar above others." At this point, Li Taishuan's expression became solemn and he became silent for a few breaths before speaking again. The last thing I want to let you know is that absorbing this acquired resonance is not as easy as you might think it will be. As the acquired resonance is assimilated, it will require massive amounts of blood essence. This is why we had to wait until you were 17 before allowing you to retrieve this. Only at this age will you barely be able to withstand the loss of your blood essence. More importantly, what you will lose is not just blood essence, but also part of your longevity. Once this acquired resonance is absorbed, you will only be able to live for 5 more years, unless you're able to break into the Duke stage and transform your body. Otherwise, that will be the end. This has been something that your mom and I have disputed for a long time. The price to pay is too great, but you, my boy, have grown up. So we have decided to lay the facts bare and let you make the choice yourself. Little Luo, will you choose to maintain the status quo and become a rich young lord? Or will you choose to assimilate with the acquired resonance and cultivate against the heavens, struggling to live while embarking on a path fraught with danger? If you choose the first option, then all you have to do is store the crystal ball somewhere and the previous process will revert. If you choose the latter, then reach into the crystal ball. The choice is up to you, but regardless of your decision, the two of us will always support you. After which, the two apparitions no longer spoke and merely stared at Li Luo with gazes full of concern and love. Li Luo, on the other hand, gradually eased himself into a sitting position, his eyes focused on the murky, black crystal ball with uncertainty laced within. Throughout the explanation, he had realized something. Since the benefits were so wondrous, why were there no drawbacks? It seemed that this was left for last. Now his choices were simple. Did he want to be a weak, little monster? Or a mighty, short-lived beast? This video will end here.